All right. So this is College of DuPage 101. For those of you who are returning and have been with COD, you know that COD every year, no matter what year it is, it's always a tough process to get our students through the enrollment funnel. Last year was my first year in this position, and I totally saw that. I took that into consideration. I rolled up that feedback, and we have a bunch of new initiatives this year that we're going to roll out with all the schools to make sure that we make the enrollment process um, as smooth as possible. All right. Our goal for today is to understand the College of DuPage processes, help troubleshoot any issues the students may have throughout the process, and hand off students to College of DuPage. This year, College of DuPage and the admissions team, we are working on a four important
I have
contact
it.
model. What does that
Oh,
necessarily mean for
how
you
can we
guys?
do that?
He's not.
If I can just ask to mute, please. Thank you. We're working on a four important contact model. First point of contact to become in contact with students is an information session. Why is this important? Because last year, a lot of schools didn't have an information session. Students and counselors did not know what COD, what the process of COD was like, or if there were any changes to the process. So this year, I specifically want to make sure that all of your schools have an information session which students can understand the processes of College of DuPage, the benefits of College of DuPage, and what they're getting themselves into. Meaning that there's a lot of things, a lot of hoops that they have to jump to through the enrollment process here, unfortunately. And I want to make sure that we're making that clear to them because I don't want them to act and any surprise like, oh, I didn't know any of this was happening or was going to happen. Again, I know it's an extensive process. I'm trying my hard and my very best to make sure that it's not as extensive. I'm rolling all that feedback that you guys are giving me, but it takes time and I just need you to be patient with me. I'm trying my very best to ensure that I'm able to take all of your information into consideration and roll it up to my supervisors. Our second point of contact with students will be an application day. This is where we say, okay, you've learned everything about COD, you learned what you need. Now we're going to get you to apply. The third step after that would be for us to do our testing day, meaning we will bring testing to you. This is something that some of the schools already had done. I know Addison Trill with Allison have been doing this for a while now with COD Connections. Well, this is now something that we're doing across the board. I did it a lot. I did it last year with most of my schools. So this year is no different. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get testing. We're going to bring testing to you to eliminate that portion, which is one of the biggest barriers that our students do face when they try to matriculate into COD. After that testing date, all of those students who have tested are automatically and should be automatically granted to go to our enrollment day. Our enrollment day is typically a field trip where students go to one of our centers and they get group advising. They're able to put together a schedule and register for classes if they like. This is something that we did last year again with most of the schools. This year is no different. It's going to be the exact same thing. One thing that I do want to emphasize that all those students who made it to the testing sessions should automatically be granted access to go to these enrollment days. To be a little bit strategic, I would say students who maybe are in an Algebra 3 class or math transitions or dual credit math class, um, try not to target them when you're targeting these testing students because again, they are able to waive that portion. However, if the student is going to be going into engineering, business, or health sciences, they should still take the ALEX exam. Again, if the student is in engineering, health sciences or business, they should still take the ALEX exam because they do need to be placed into a higher math. And that dual credit class, that transition, that AP class is not going to get them to that high class that we need them to be. All right. Other changes to this year, we have added enrollment coaches to our student success team. So what do the admission representatives do? The admission representatives go and give out information. We do the outreach. We help students apply. However, your admission representative, myself, is going to act as an enrollment coach through the entire academic year to your students. At the end of the year, when your students come to COD, they will no longer see me or a different rep. They will not go to an enrollment coach. What is the job of the enrollment coach? The enrollment coach is going to ensure that your student has that hand holding process where they're going to walk your student through the process on how to apply for financial aid, how to make sure that they're taking the right placement exam, what kind of placement they need to take, payment plans, classes. They're not an advisor, but they're going to make sure that they handhold them through every single hoop that students typically face at COD. That is going to be the job of the enrollment coach. Again, when the reps are coming out to you and they're helping them through that 4-point contact medal, they're acting as the enrollment coach at the high school. Once your student comes to COD, they will be directed to their specific enrollment coach, and their information can be found online on our website under cod.edu admissions, contact admissions. You will see the tab to the admission representatives and the enrollment coaches. All right, our counseling and advising team is still doing the exact same thing. We will have specific advisors for specific programs this year. We onboarded about 40 advisors this year that are full-time that will be helping our students. Some of them, like I said, are very specific pathway, others are very technical. So students may or may not be assigned to a specific advisor depending on what they are going to be studying. All right. Again, admission representatives, nothing has changed. The only thing is that we're down an admission representative. Our other bilingual rep, Iris Castellanos, has been promoted to the onboarding manager. For enrollment coach, I will be sharing this presentation with you guys later as well, so you don't have to take a picture of this or write their information down. We're currently onboarding one more enrollment coach that will be part of the COD team. Again, just to emphasize that your admission representative will be serving as your enrollment coach throughout the student's journey until graduation. After graduation, your student will be connected with their assigned enrollment coach, and the 4-point contact model guides students to the admission process in a coaching style. So again, everything that the enrollment coach is going to be doing with the student initially when they come to COD is what I myself are going to be doing when I go to the high school, ensuring that I'm able to help your students with determining what kind of placement testing they need to get done, getting them set up for their portals, student emails, etc. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and stop here, and I'm going to jump now to the application portion of this session. So we're gonna walk through the application together. Perfect. All right. So again, our website is gonna be your best friend, cod.edu. On the top right, we're gonna click apply for credit classes, and this beautiful portal should open up. If students enter their personal email address so they will click on first time user, create account. We would fill out the entire information together with the student. Date birth, phone number, or phone type, and then this is a yes or no question. This is a big issue here with students sometimes. They're not reading this portion. It's asking, check if the address is outside of the US. They should not be checking that because they're not an international student. A lot of the times they have issues where they're like, I can't find my state. That's because they most likely checked this off. So just make sure that you guys are telling them, hey, don't check any of that information off. Graduation year, very important. So again, the application for the fall of 2025 will be available starting September 30th. I know I sent an email out, but I just want to make sure that I mention that again. Personal email address. Very important. They're using their personal email address. They should not be using their school email. Again, for this purpose, we won't see fall of 2025, but we're going to hit summer 2025. Students should enter as a first time to college. Obviously, they've never attended college. Passwords is a big issue for a lot of students. The password has to be between 8 to 16 characters in length. First letter has to be capital. It has to contain a number and a non-alpha character, such as special characters, so the exclamation point, at symbol, question mark, whatever. They have to make sure that, again, first letter is capital, 8 to 16 characters long, that does include numbers, and one non-alpha character. If I, as a student, did everything right, my application should automatically go through with no issues at all. If I get an error message saying, hey, this email has already been used, that's because the student most likely already created a profile. What does that mean? If the student does not remember their credentials, they can hit forgot password. They should get a link to create a new password. If for whatever reason that does not help, send me an email or give me a call and I can reset it on my end. But again, if it's saying that the student has already used that email address, it's because they had created an account with us. Whether that's a profile for a campus tour, one of our events, an inquiry, whatever it is, they should be able to use that. Good question. Dual credit students do have an account for their Inside COD portal and email address, but a dual credit student still has to fill out an application and they do not have an application account. So they are totally eliminated that this year. I know last year we had that big issue. Dual credit students should not have been created an account for an application at all while they were applying for dual credit. So if they are in dual credit, they basically don't have an account for a COD application portal, and they should be able to create one on their own. Once the student applies, that dual credit information and the COD application will merge and create one file unless the student misspells their name or the social security does not match, then we will have two records on file. But all the information should ideally stay the same if the student entered all the information correctly, because our system will pick that up and say, okay, this student's already in the system as a dual credit, and now they're creating an account to become an undergraduate student. We're going to link them up together. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and create your application. Make sure that they're starting a general admissions application. I had a couple of students last year who started an international application just because they didn't pay attention and they were flagged as international and they were asked to provide visas, etc. And it was this whole thing. Just making sure that students are hitting the general admission application at the top will save so much time. Again, continue with the above area of interest. Ideally, this should be fall 2025. Perfect. All right. Students tend to fill out everything just because it's a college application. They think that they have to fill every single little thing that's in there. No. We're only going to fill out whatever has the red asterisk. And there's two important questions that do not have that red asterisk that I still want them to fill out. Their ethnicity/race and their high school information. All right? So again, I'm not gonna worry about any of this stuff if they don't have the red asterisk. Here we have a red asterisk. Ideally, no, I'm not 20 years or older if I'm a CO, if I'm a high school student. Making sure that my phone number is correct. All right, social security number. Um, Again, this is not a social, it's just a random number that I made up. If a student does not come with a social security number, we're able to issue an alternative ID. What does that mean? That means that undocumented students and students who may not have a social security are able to apply to COD and we would issue an alternative ID. It's not an ITIN number. I want to make sure that I emphasize that. It's just a random number that we issue them so that we can allow them to submit their application. That information, it's only a use for that purpose. We do not use it for anything else. It is not sent to the government or anything like that. It's just a number that we give them so that way they can submit their COD application. How do I request an alternative ID? You would simply send me an email saying, hey, Edward, I have a student here. You would CC the student or the student himself can send that email to me. Who's seeking an alternative ID. You do not have to mention their immigration status or anything like that. Just say they're seeking an alternative ID. I'm gonna need the student's full name, first and last name, date of birth, and student's personal email address that they use to create their account. Again, first and last name, date of birth, and email address, personal email address. One thing to keep in mind is that the student needs to create an account before they request an alternative ID. No, if the student does not plan to attend COD but is currently enrolled as dual credit and wishes to have their COD dual credit be forwarded to a different university they plan to attend, do they still need to apply for admission and then pay a fee? No, they don't have to. They can simply request that transcript from the Office of Student Records, and that transcript can be sent out to whatever university they wish us to send that to. Again, making sure that the student has an account already created before the request for an alternative ID will be very, very essential. If the student requests an alternative ID and they haven't even already started their application, I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, I can't do anything at this moment. You have to start your application first. All right. All right. Continue through the entire thing. Again, ideally, an application should take no more than literally 7 minutes. All right, another important question here. It does not have a red asterisk, but if a student is not a US citizen or permanent resident, they should not leave this as yes. They should simply click no and leave everything else blank. They don't have to put a citizenship status, they don't have to put a visa type, none of that information. All right. So again, are you a US citizen? If the student's not a US citizen or permanent resident, they can hit no, and that's it, nothing else. They don't have to include no visa type, no status, nothing like that. Again, race and ethnicity, very important. If the student is Hispanic or Latino or any other ethnicity or race, we want to make sure that they are including that, even though it's not a question with the red asterisk. Save and continue. What's my primary goal of COD? Most students are going to hit to prepare to transfer to a four-year university. If your student is going to only be doing a technical degree, they can hit option number 3 to prepare for a future immediately after attending community college. So again, they should either option number 1 applies to most of them or option number 3. Choose an academic pathway. All right. This is another tricky question. A lot of students are like, "Hey, I don't see, I don't know, I don't see aviation management." I still have a hard time trying to find aviation management. Sometimes they have to click through every single one of these and figure out, hey, where is aviation management? Oh, believe it or not, it's under public services, nursing, health sciences, dental hygiene, pre-med, STEM. Important here. If a student hit undeclared or undecided, it will affect their financial aid and they may not qualify for any financial aid at all. Again, I'm going to repeat that. If the student selects undecided or undeclared, they will not qualify for financial aid. If the student is unsure of what they're going to be studying, I will try to get them to narrow it down as much as possible. Typically, there is an option here that allows you to click transfer, but because this is my test link, it's not letting me see it. So that's fun. But there is an option here where they can hit transfer, and they will hit transfer one more time. And then it's going to narrow it down to either the Associate of Arts or the Associate of Science. You then ask the student, are you leaning to something more STEM or healthcare related? If they are, you would hit the Associate of Science. Are you leaning to something more arts related, such as communications, marketing, business, sociology, psychology? Yes, okay, we will do the Associate of Arts. That is how we narrow it down to those last two. Again, if a student is undecided or undeclared, they're not sure what they want to do, don't have them hit undeclared or undecided. Have them clear transfer. Selected intended major is going to be transfer, and selected degree is going to be either the Associate of Arts or the Associate of Science. Again, it's going to narrow down to one of these two. A lot of students want to fill out this information. Do you plan to apply for financial aid? It honestly does not affect anything, so just have them move past that. An all-important question here. How many years of education have you completed in the United States, elementary to high school? When students are filling out this application, they think, how many years have I been in high school? Okay, 0 to 4. So they click 0 to 4. That's going to trigger a reading and writing placement test hold. And they won't be able to register for any classes that do not require any math. So I would always tell the students, hey, no, if you have lived your entire life in the United States and you've been here for, more than 5 years of education, K through 12, you should be selecting 5 or more. It's not asking about how many high school years. It's asking how many school years overall, elementary to high school, have you had? For those English language learner students, obviously they have less than 4 years of education. They will have that hold for the English reading and writing exam, and they will have to take the Kaplan reading and writing exam. And we'll get that into that just in a few minutes here. Have you had graduated high school before you start of college to DuPage? Yes, we're going to project that they're going to graduate. And what will be your highest degree of education? Will be high school diploma. This is obviously optional. It's personal. Have either your parents completed a bachelor's degree in the U.S. and either your parents attended college here in the U.S. or in their native country? Yes, no, or unsure. Not an important question that does not have a red asterisk, but they're going to need to fill it out. High school information. As you start to type your high school information, it will automatically populate. Every single high school in District 502 is already automatically input in here, so they should have no issues finding their high school. When did you attend high school? And when did you graduate high school? GPA, it could be an estimate. It does not have to be a an accurate. Again, we're going to get official transcripts from them. So again, it's an estimate of what their GPA would be. A lot of students would like to fill this information out because they have dual credit. Again, we're going to be receiving final transcripts from them, either from their high school, or a lot of our high schools do take dual credit classes with Elmhurst University. Just have the students send those transcripts over to COD and we should be able to get that in. No need to fill it out in the application. Again, special populations, they will read through these. If any of these apply to them, they could do that, or they could do none of these categories apply to me, or I choose not to disclose any of this information. How do you plan at COD? A lot of them are like, I'm not sure. I always like to do a combination of the above because they could take in-person and online classes, whatever they like. I just don't like that undecided portion. Again, combination of the above would be the best answer. Yes, they would fine. If everything goes right and they submitted everything correctly, there should be no issues and it should automatically take them to this portion right here, the application payment portal. Again, if the student does qualify for a waiver, they should be able to input that 2024 capital HSW and it should work and they should be able to make the online payment. All right. Once the student has completed the application and it's going to say, hey, you've successfully applied, they're going to receive an email right away saying, hey, thank you for applying to COD. They're going to receive another email saying, hey, you've been admitted, welcome. And lastly, they're going to receive that email titled COD Student Portal that's going to contain their username, ID number, and email address with a link to create their portal. If the student is dual credit, those same credentials for dual credit are going to be the same ones they're going to use to log in into that portal because remember, we combine those two. Again, if the student's dual credit, they probably won't get that, hey, here is your email for COD because they already have access to that and it's going to stay the same. Yes, the subject line for that email is COD Student Portal username. Again, COD Student Portal username is going to be the title of that email. All right. Now we're going to jump to a different portion of this. We're making a time. All right. So I took the time this summer to, again, reflect on all the feedback you all gave me. I literally sat with myself in my office and I said, all right, Edward, what can you do to make your high school partners' lives so much easier? Well, not only having the session was one of my ideas, but also creating a complete guide of what I thought were some of the biggest hiccups last year as my first year as an admission rep that I saw, to ensuring that you guys have all the information needed to be able to help your students. This is going to be made available to all of you after this session. I'm going to send it to all of you so that way you can go back and reference it. But this pretty much has everything that we've talked about so far. Again, how to complete your application, how to request an alternative ID, an email example. My favorite part, and I'm pretty sure it's most of your guys' favorite part as well, setting up that inside COD port. Again, the email will be titled COD Student Portal Username, and it will contain the student's ID number, username, and email address. All right. When students receive that email, they should be logging into insidecod.edu. So we're going to do that right now. Mine's already logged in. So let me bring it up over here. This is what their portal is going to look like when they click on that. They're going to click on students set forgot password. And from that email address that they receive, their username is typically their last name, first initial, and maybe a couple of letters. A couple of numbers. That's their username. They don't have to add that at DuPage.edu, none of that. Username is only last name, first initial, and maybe some numbers. Email address. This is very, very important. If a student enters their email address on that, when they were creating their account for the application, case sensitive, meaning the first letter was capital, they should have entered it that way. Obviously, they're probably not going to remember, so I would have them try it regularly. So if I would click submit, and I would wait a couple of minutes. If I see then maybe 5 minutes go by and I don't get that email, it's probably because it's case sensitive. So I would go back and I would have them change the first letter to a capital and then try it again. If that still doesn't work, then there's something wrong with the student's application probably, or their email address, because sometimes what we see is with a lot of students with emails from Apple, like at iCloud.com, they run out of storage and we're trying to send them emails and the emails keep bouncing back because they no longer have storage. And obviously that's out of our control. So if for whatever reason that happens, I would tell the student to contact the IT help desk, and their phone number is right here, 630-942-2999. When students are creating their portal, it's very important that they do not use their phone and they do not use Safari. They can use Chrome or Microsoft Edge or Firefox. Again, ensuring it's not on a mobile phone. iPads are fine, but no mobile phone. And then they're not using Safari. They have to use either Chrome, Microsoft Edge, or Firefox. All right, once the student has everything, they should be able to create this portal. Couple of things when they're creating their password, and I actually forgot about this, so this is good. I'm going over this right now. Passwords should be 8 to 16 characters long. If I can spell. First letter has to be uppercase and has to include numbers, no special characters. All right. Again, first letter should be a capital uppercase, and it has to include numbers, no special characters such as the @ symbol, question mark, exclamation point, none of that. And it cannot be any part of their name. All right. Again, if you cannot create your account, I suggest that you reach out to the student IT help desk. They typically are very good with returning calls within an hour to students with a password. And once they get that password will expire because it's a temporary password. So I would trigger them to go over this and click on student set forgot password, change password. And they are able to change their password. They can put the old password that IT gave them and create their own password. All right. That password that IT gives them, it's only temporarily. It's only going to work temporarily. I'm sorry. and it's going to expire at some point. I'm going to jump all the way to setting up student email. All right, so how does a student access their DuPage.edu email? Well, they have a link right here that they're able to click on. They will enter their CRD username, including the @DuPage.edu portion when prompted. And they should be able to display it just like this. Again, typically their username is their last name, first initial, and maybe a couple of numbers @DuPage.edu. They should enter the same password that they created for their Inside COD portal. The password for the portal and email address is the exact same one. It is not changed. They don't have to set up two different passwords. All right. Once they enter that information, they're going to get the screen that says more information is required. And then they're going to get this one saying Microsoft Authenticator app. Do not hit that. There is an option at the bottom that says, I want to set up a different method. They should choose that. And from the drop down section, they should be able to hit phone, and they should be able to enter their phone number to get a text message or a call. Once they get that text message or a call, they're going to send them a code. They're going to enter that code, and then it's automatically going to take them into their student email address. And they should be able to read those emails from there. All right. If they have any issues, again, that is beyond me. They should be reaching out to student help desk at that point. Going back to determining placement for students. It's another big hiccup for students. How do I know what placement test to take? Again, reading and writing, students who have more than 5 years of education in the United States do not have to take the reading and writing placement if they do not meet the required GPA of a 3.0 or higher. They should be taking the guided self-placement. What is the guided self-placement? It's not a test. It is a questionnaire. And this link right here will take them directly to that, to the guided self-placement, but they will log in into the student portal inside cod.edu, click on the My Access portion, and from the drop-down, select guided self-placement. All right? And that's all they have to do. For non-native English speakers, they will have to take the Kaplan exam for International English Tools. They can go to any of our testing centers, Addison, Carroll Stream, Westmont, Naperville, or main campus here in Glen Ellen. They can, they don't have to set up an appointment. It does not have any additional cost. They just show up and they say, I'm here to take my placement test. And they should allow at least 2 hours before the center closes. So if I'm going to the Addison Center and the Addison Center says that it closes at 7, I should arrive no later than 5 p.m. to be able to take that test. All right. Again, all they need is their COD ID number and a picture ID. That could be driver's license, state ID, passport, whatever. It just has to be a government issued picture ID. All right. If the student is in ESL or has less than 4 years of education, they should be taking that English exam. We have had a lot of issues in the past, and I saw this a lot this past year, where students had been here for more than 4 years, but their senior year, they were still an EL student. If that student is still an EL, he or she should be still taking that Kaplan exam for International English Tools, because that means that their English is not where it should be for a native speaker. All right? If they're in their last course of EL and technically next year they should be in regular EL, it doesn't matter. If that is the case, then they should have no option with acing the English exam. Now, why is this important? Because I have had a lot of students this year who were in EL, and because they had a good GPA, they were thrown into regular honors classes at COD, and we're now 3 weeks into the semester, and now they're coming back to us saying, hey, I'm failing this class because I don't understand a word the teacher is saying. All right. Just making sure that we're working together to ensure that our students are being set up for success and not for failure. All right. Just because the student has a good GPA and because they should be in regular English next year doesn't necessarily mean that they're 100% ready. Even if the student has more than 4 years of education, but their last year in high school are still in EL, they should still be taking that Kaplan exam for English tools. On to the math portion. ACT and SAT score can help you waive the ALEKS math for Math 1218, which is general education mathematics here at COD. You have to have a score of 22 on the math portion of the ACT or a score of 530 on the SAT, and scores must be less than 30 months old. And proof of the score should be sent to testing@cod.edu. So students should be able to log into to College Board, and they should be able to send those scores to us in a PDF format. Their high school GPA could help them waive the ALEKS placement with the successful completion of a 4-year math, 2 semesters with a C or higher as a grade within the past 18 months. Again, this is just for general education math. Please note that if a student is in a math transitional dual credit math class, they must obtain a C or better on both semesters to place into Math 1218. Meaning if the student is in a dual credit and the first semester they got an A, but second semester they tanked it with a D, they're not going to get waived that placement testing. They have to have a C or better both semesters. Typically, those are courses like Algebra 3, Quantitative Lit, or some of them, or they just call it Math Transitions. Those are the classes where the student is able to waive that if they have a C or better both semesters. Now, keep in mind that if I'm in that class and I want to be an engineer, guess what? Math 1218 is not going to get me to where I need to be at COD for an engineering major. I'm going to have to take the ALEKS regardless, especially if I'm interested in engineering pathways with the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. I'm going to need to take that ALEKS math and get a 76 or higher. All right? And that is explained here. Engineering pathway applicants are required to take the Proctor ALEKS Math PPL and to meet a minimum score requirements in order to apply for admission. I did link the direct link for engineering pathways, so you and your student can review that together. Again, using the transitional math class, students should have that C or better both semesters, so they can get into selected classes. And it tells them what classes they can get into. All right? Math 1218 is general ed math. This is for health sciences. Business mathematics. Now, business mathematics doesn't necessarily mean that it's for a business major. So it's very tricky. All right? Students who are unable to meet any of the above requirements must take the ALEKS PPL math test. And when they finish the test, you're going to get a score. I have listed the score chart here as well. A 46 or better will get them into a regular college level math class. But again, if students are interested in business or engineering, they should go for a higher score and they should be taking the ALEKS math. Because to be an engineering student, you have to be enrolled in the first semester. The first thing that you have to take as an engineering student here at UIC and U of I is going to be that that calculus 2. That's math 2231. So if I took a dual credit class and I know that dual credit class only gets me into math 1218, I have to take that class, and then I have to take another class, and then I have to take another class, and then I will finally be able to get to where I need to be as an engineering student. I have to take 4 classes before I'm able to get to where I need to be, which is why we recommend that they just automatically take that Alex Math test. There is no practice for the Alex Math test. Students go in blindly, they take it to any of our centers. They go, they take it. Once they get their score, if their score is not better than that 46, they're able to go back into their student portal. And on the middle portion, they're going to find this. They're able to click on that Alex Math, and they're able to get a study module that will help them improve their score. They should be studying a minimum of 3 hours before they go back and retake that test. Keep in mind that if a student wants to see a drastic change on their score, they should be studying more than 3 hours. 3 hours is the minimum, but they're not going to see an improvement in their score that much. Maybe 1-2 points, if anything. If I know I want to see a drastic change because I want to go into engineering, I have to spend more than 3 hours on that. All right? One student has taken their test, their placement testing, and they've taken their Alex and they get a good enough score, or they just taken their Alex at all, they're able to meet with a counselor or advisor. Keep in mind, there's times throughout the year where counseling and advising moves to a walk-in service model, meaning that there is no appointments. Students simply show up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's on a first come, first serve basis. They do reach capacity because every single appointment with the student should take at least 30 minutes. So obviously there's only 8 hours in the day, and we have 20 counselors. Then you do the math from there, right? How many students can we see? I have students who show up later in the day at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're like, hey, sorry, we're at capacity. We won't be able to see you today. Come back tomorrow. So I would always emphasize to students that if that is the case, have them show up at 8:30 in the morning, because at 8:30 in the morning, I assure you there's already people lining up at that door to see an advisor. This advising video, they do have to watch it before they meet with an advisor. However, that will be going away, hopefully very soon. I'm hoping that by the spring semester, we no longer have to do this, but for the early graduates, they still have to watch that advising video. It will have a knowledge check. That advising video pretty much walks them through how to use their student planner, how to look at program requirements, etc. It's about 20 minutes, and they do have a knowledge check at the end. The knowledge check, it just has the student put in their first name, last name, and student ID number. I do have that linked here for you guys to just automatically send to your student, so they don't have to be calling counseling and advising to get that video. They just automatically do it, and then from there say, hey, I already did it. My name should be on that list. Look for it. Once students meet with their advisor, they will be given a program map, obviously. They will register for classes and pay for their tuition. At this point, students should already have a financial aid award letter. How do I know if I'm getting financial aid? That's why it's very important that they set up their student email, because if financial aid needs any additional documentation from them, they're going to reach out to them directly to their COD email. A lot of students sometimes email us from their personal email. We're not going to respond due to FERPA. So they got to make sure that they're emailing us from their COD email, which is why it's very important that they set that email up right away. Registration dates for my early graduates. For the spring semester, registration opens the second Wednesday of November. So it's very important that they do have their application set up before then and their placement testing done before then, because again, the earlier that they register, the more liberty they have to pick out classes around their schedule. They only have to do $10 of down payment, and they're able to break down their tuition into less payments. I'm sorry, through less chunks, more payments. For the summer term, if I have any students interested in the summer term, it opens the second Wednesday of March. And for the fall semester, it opens the second Wednesday of April. These are universal deadlines moving forward. These are going to be it. Typically in the past, we had a specific deadline, a specific date. This time we don't. It's going to be every second Wednesday of April for the fall term, every second Wednesday of November for the spring, and then second Wednesday of March for the summer term. A lot of students sometimes are like, hey, I'm interested in nursing. How do I know which are my prerequisites? Well, our website's going to be their best friend. If I know I'm interested in nursing, I'm going to go to cod.edu. On the search bar, I'm going to type nursing. The nursing program is going to be right here. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to read through this. First step to apply is to attend an advising session. So if students are interested in applying for the program, they should be clicking on this, and it should open up a PDF format that tells them when the next available session is. Most of them are online. If they do not have any, they do list the program chair, which they can email and ask them, hey, so-and-so, when is the next available advising session? Right here, under degrees, we're going to click on the Nursing Associate Applied Sciences. We will click on Program Map. Boom. Tells me what prerequisites I need to get into the nursing program. I'm going to need Anatomy and Physiology 1 and 2, with or without cadaver, Microbiology, Mathematics for Health Sciences, and Nursing Assistant. So how do I know what score I need to get into that Mathematics for Health Sciences? Again, we would go back to that test score. We take a look at here, Math 1102 for Mathematics for Health Sciences. Math 1102 here, I only need a 30. Now keep in mind, this is only for the COD nursing program. If a student is going to be transferring to a four-year university, that score would need to be a 46 or higher, right? Because typically students who are going to be transferring to a four-year university are going to need to do that general education math for nursing or anything like that. Students who are going into biology, pre-med, pharmacy are going to need that statistics level mathematics, and that is a 56 or better, which is why it's very important that these students are talking with an advisor to ensure that they are understanding what score they need to get for that math class. All right, and it breaks them down by semester. It tells the student exactly what they're going to be taking in what sequence. So ideally, this is what advisors do when they're meeting with students at those enrollment days. They bring up the program maps and program requirements. They tell them this is what you need. Now let's pick a couple of classes from this. Let's input them into your student portal, and let's get a schedule going for you for the fall semester. All right. That is all that I have. Do you guys have any questions? Feel free to unmute and throw them.
Hi, Edward. Could you give us the waiver code for students to get free and reduced lunch for this semester? Can you put it in the chat maybe?
That code is, yes, I'll do that. It's 2024, capital HSW. And it was included in the I sent out a newsletter a couple of days ago. If you do not have it, send me an email and I'll forward it again to you, but all of you should have gotten that.
I did, and then it just got lost in the other emails. So
No, you're fine.
thank you though. Thank you.
I know a lot of people had questions about if we're gonna have a Isaac fair. I'm sorry, IACAC college fair. We do. The date for that is going to be October 15 from 6 to 8 p.m. It's going to be stripe scan, so make sure that your students have a stripe scan code prior to that. Open house for us this fall will be on Saturday, November 16th. And counselor update meeting will be on November 8th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Student Resource Center, SRC 2000. More information will be coming out available to you guys within the next couple of weeks to RSVP.